After training this morning, I went home to take a shower. I was lounging on bed when my grandmother entered and brought in a few bags with her. She had been shopping apparently. Here you go, Jordan. I picked you up a few things while I was out, she said as she sat down the bags. Thanks, what's in them? I asked. Oh, just some clothes, shoes, and makeup. Just a few things I thought you might like. She started to leave my bedroom. Okay, I said, knowing she was up to something. Oh, and this weekend we are having a cookout. You can invite your friends if you want. It's this Saturday at 6, she said. Who else is coming? I was fishing. Some of the pack members and a few guests, she said, avoiding telling me the truth, but not outright lying. Guests like who? I pushed. A handful of guests from another pack. I think your grandfather said you will have to ask him. Jordan. She walked down the hall, and I heard her bedroom door close. I turned on a movie and fell asleep. I woke up to my grandmother hollering up at me asking if I was coming to dinner. I told them no. I was starving, but I did not want to sit with them and listen to more of their half-truths. It was annoying. I know I told River and Bash I tried to find out why the Wild Wind Pack was being invited over to my house, but I did not care to ask my family at the moment. Not like they would tell me anyway. Then I thought of someone else who might know something about this weekend. I picked up my phone. Heidi said she was with the guys at the convenience store. Our reservation was large. Picture it like a huge neighborhood of houses, surrounded by woods and a lake. There weren't too many businesses on the res though. We had a hospital, a school complex, a kiddie park, a farmer's market, an ice cream shop, a few event spots, and a convenience store. The C-store sold chicken and pizzas, and was about the only place to grab a bite to eat on the res. I called Heidi because I figured she would be hanging out with the guys, and I wanted to talk to one of them. Sure enough, she was there with Colin, Kai, and Luke. They were about to dive into some pizza when I sat down next to Luke. What's up, doll? Luke asked. Ugh. Oh, nothing much. I just wanted to invite you guys to my house this Saturday for a barbecue. I said. Sweet, I will be there, said Kai. What about you, Colin? I asked. I thought you'd never ask. It's a date, babe, Colin said with a smile. Colin is stepping up to the plate, Kai said as he patted Colin on the back. Okay, it's a date, I said teasingly. Hey, Luke, do you know who else is gonna be at the cookout? I asked, trying to catch him off guard. I don't know. Maybe some other members from another pack or something, he said and looked down at his food. What pack, do you know? I looked at him. It better not be the Hellhounds again. Heidi huffed. I think my dad said Wild Wind or something. Luke replied. Oh, why did my family invite them? Do you know? I asked. I don't know, ask your grandfather. He whined. Aren't you his spy though? You tell your dad everything I do and he reports to my grandfather. I retorted. I'm not their spy. He scrunched his face at me. They trust you. They don't hide anything from you. Since you're going to be the next beta, so I am asking you, as your future Luna, to tell me what you know about this weekend. I said sternly. Jordan, fuck. I don't know much, okay? They don't tell me everything. They know we are friends. He said. Luke, tell us. Heidi said. All I heard was a pack, called Wild Wind, was invited to a cookout this Saturday at the pack house. I know the alpha of Wild Wind and his brother are both without a mate, and I assume they are coming because they are interested in meeting you," said Luke. "Anything else?" I asked him. "Nope." He looked down at his pizza again. "Luke." I smacked my hand on the table. "Fine. They have been trying to set up a meeting with you for a long time. But your grandpa isn't a big fan of them. Last year, one of their members came over to speak your grandpa, and he told him to get lost. But since things with the hellhounds didn't work out, he must have decided to call up Wild Wind." Luke took a bite of his food. "Oh, thanks, Luke," I said and got up from the table. "Jordan, if you tell them I told you, then I won't be able to get any more info," Luke said. "I won't," I promised. It was the morning of the cookout, and I decided to peek into the bag that had been laying on my bedroom floor. My grandmother got me a bunch of clothes and shoes. There was a teeth whitening kit, bronzer, a hoard of makeup, and a waxing kit. Oh, my grandmother. I decided to give the wax thing a try, even though my common sense tried to talk me out of it. I was just going to clean up the sides of my bikini area. I set the wax on a candle warmer. There was no way I was going to walk downstairs to use the microwave to melt the wax and risk getting caught. Normally, someone who hasn't used hair wax before might read the instructions, but I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. Heat up the wax, spread it on, put the cloth strip over it, and pull it off. I only had my robe on at this point. My wax was hot, so I took it, and I went in my bathroom. I lost the robe and was ready to start. I decided to start on the right side first. I took the popsicle stick and dipped it in the wax. I swiped it really close to the edge on my inner thigh and where the side of my underwear lays. Jesus Christ. Fuck me, I shouted. The waxing was burning my skin. It was too hot. Go, go, go. Fuck. I danced around. I couldn't get it off. It was burning. So, I waved my hand around my crotch trying to fan it. I grabbed a piece of cloth and put it on the lava wax. It was the only way I could get it off. I waited about 10 seconds and yanked the edge of the cloth up towards my stomach. It ripped off along with a bunch of hair and what felt like my skin. Phew, what? Damn it. I couldn't shut my mouth. That was worse than the hot wax. I would have sworn I was bleeding. I looked in the mirror at my reflection and looked down at the bright red bald spot that's between my legs. Dang, that hurt. There was no way I was doing that again. I learned my lesson. I hoped eventually the hair would grow back there. I heard breeze in the back of my mind, wondering why I was ripping out what little fur I had. After that fiasco, I hopped in the shower. I shaved everything else, and when I got to my newfound, tender area, I tried my best to use my razor and blend my bald spot in. It's not like I had plans to hook up with someone tonight, or any night for that matter, but I didn't want people to see it when I shifted. I already suffer from enough embarrassment when I shift, it seems. I don't need to draw extra attention to my crotch. I decided to dress the part of the young, hot, and single she-wolf tonight. After all, that is what they were coming here for. Little did they know I am just a tease. I swear I cracked myself up. I put on these high-waisted, white trousers and a white cropped blouse. The shirt showed a little bit of my stomach, but it was still classy. These pants, though, they hugged my hips nicely. I strapped on a pair of wedges and my pants made them disappear. I had legs for days and my ass looked great. I wore some bronzer and mascara, which was a lot for me. I did not wear makeup often. I dried my hair halfway and left it down and wavy. A few months ago, I let my grandmother talk me into getting highlights. They had faded some and weren't as bright, which I liked even more. I looked like I had beachy hair, or whatever that is. The sun-kissed hair complemented my nice tan I got from training. All in all, I was looking pretty good tonight. I left my room and went downstairs. It was an hour before the cookout was supposed to start. "Oh girl, you look like a snack," Colin howled as soon as I got down the stairs. "Colin, stop it," I said. "I'm your date tonight, babe, remember?" He reminded me. "Oh, that's right. I forgot. Everyone else is outside. Let's head out there." He grabbed my hand. Heidi, Luke, and Kai were sitting on the outdoor sectional. There were a few people still setting things up, and my grandmother was arranging a table of plates and silverware. Not many people were there yet. Colin led me over to our friends and sat down, pulling me onto his lap. "Colin, I am not sitting on your lap right now," I said, trying to move. "That's okay, hun. You can sit on it later then." He was laying the flirting on thick tonight. "Ugh, Colin, let go," I said and moved to sitting next to him. I knew he was mostly just kidding and having fun. His playful banter was a nice distraction for my nerves. People started drifting into the backyard for the next 2 hours. Music started playing and you could smell the food cooking. My friends and I were still seated on the couches when we saw some new face appear. There were 4 men and 1 woman who walked into the backyard from the side of the house. They were all gorgeous. They had to be the wolves from Wild Wind. I noticed 2 men had the same tattoo on their forearm. Definitely a pack marking, and it probably meant they were ranked members of their pack. I looked around at my friends' faces. "Guys, we can't all stare. Heidi, close your mouth," I snapped. "Wha? Sorry, but do you see that one guy?" "Damn," she drooled. "Those guys look old. Why does your grandfather keep trying to set you up with old dudes, Jordan?" Colin asked. "They're not old, they're experienced," mumbled Heidi. "Their alpha looks at least mid-40s, said Luke. "How do you know which one is the alpha?" I asked. "Eric is standing in the middle, I think, because that is his brother, Emmett, on the left, and his sister, Eva, on his right. I have seen those 2 before when Emmett came to speak with your grandfather last year, and Eva was with him. Luke told us. Your grandmother is looking around for you, Jordan. Better go introduce yourself and greet them," Luke said. "Ugh, you're right, but I really don't feel like it," I grumbled. "Come on. I will go with you, babe," Colin said. "No, I will go," said Heidi. Heidi jumped at the chance to go over and talk to the guy she was drooling over. He was one of the guys flanking their group. We both got up and walked over to the group of strangers. My grandparents were already speaking with them when we approached. "Alpha Darrow, this is our granddaughter Jordan. Jordan, this is Alpha Eric Darrow," said my grandmother, introducing me. "Pleasure to meet you," Eric said as he shook my hand. "Thank you. This is my friend Heidi," I said when I felt her nudge my side. "Nice to meet you as well, Heidi." Eric shook her hand. "Eric is the alpha of the Wild Wind pack. We invited him and his brother, Emmett, along with some of his pack to join us for the barbecue tonight," my grandfather said, speaking to me. "We thank you for the invitation. This here is Emmett, Eva, Mark, and Russell," said Eric. Russell was the one Heidi was salivating over. He had a bad boy vibe. After their alpha, Eric, spoke, there was a long pause. No one had anything to say, and it was beginning to me uncomfortable. So, I randomly looked over at Heidi. It was the only thing that popped in my head. Heidi, let's go dance, I shrieked. Okay, she agreed. I left that awkward situation and dove straight into another one. The speakers by the patio were playing the good music, but there wasn't anyone really dancing. Heidi and I went over in the grass, and I started to dance. Why are we dancing? She asked. 'Cause I didn't want to stand over there anymore. They kept staring at me. I don't know. I shrugged. And you thought dancing in front of everyone would be better? Ugh. She had a point. Colin, Kai, come over here and dance with us, Heidi shouted. That was a good idea. The guys came over and started dancing with us. I only had a few moves, but I made it work. A couple other people joined our makeshift dance party too. Heidi said she was going to pick a new song, and when she returned, a new song started to play. It was a little slower than the last song. Definitely a bump and grind song. Then, Russell from the Wild Wind Pack came over, leaned down and asked Heidi if he could join her. Those two started swaying around. Colin grabbed my waist, and we were moving back and forth. All of us were moving around while the song played, and having a great time. I had to swat Colin's hand away from my butt a few times, but I still enjoyed dancing with him. A few more songs later and my friends and I were sweating. It was a humid night, and I wanted to go inside and cool off, while also avoiding the Wild Wind Pack. Colin, Kai, Heidi, and I went inside into the kitchen for a break. I need some water or something, said Heidi. You and Russell were really getting it on over there, I said to Heidi as she grabbed a bottle of water. Oh, I know. I'm heading back out there, she said as she walked back outside. You know you and I could get it on if you want, Colin teased. Here we go again, I said, rolling my eyes. I sat my drink down and was about to walk back outside. Colin was on one tonight. But you're just a tease, aren't you, Jordan? Colin smirked. Oh, I'm a tease. You're the tease, Colin. I turned back and started walking over to him. How do you figure that? Colin questioned. Hey guys, I am gonna go back outside, Kai said uncomfortably. As Kai backed out the patio door, I walked over to Colin, who was standing against the wall. He looked down at his water bottle as he was opening it. I got really close to him and put my hands on the wall, on each side of his body to block him in. He looked up at me a little curious about what I was doing. Come on then, Colin, you've been flirting with me all night time to put your money where your mouth is and show me what I have been missing out on, I said in my best seductive tone. I was totally joking. I was irritated me when he called me a tease. It's not like I was intentionally trying to tease these guys. I wanted to freak Colin out a tad by trying to come on to him. Like I wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine. He looked like he was buying it. Oh, well, okay, what do you have in mind? He asked. We can go into my grandfather's office, I said as I ran my fingers softly across his chest for added effect. I was going to have to stop, because I didn't know what more I could say. He would be calling my bluff any second. I was going to say something else, then go back outside and leave him hanging, but then his head shot up, and he was looking at something behind me. I am going to head out while the party is still going on. Hopefully, I can sneak home without drawing too much attention, Nicky said as he walked out of my bathroom. Okay. I didn't really know what else to say. I was sitting on my bed. After our steamy reunion, I went into my bedroom to slip on some clothes. I forgot about my embarrassing bald spot, and I didn't want him to see. He probably already had, but I was hoping he hadn't. Now things were coming back into focus, and it was getting awkward. I wanted him to stay with me and never leave, but I didn't know what was going on. We honestly had barely spoken to each other for the last hour. I had a million questions to ask him, but I didn't want to push him away. I knew he had to go home to see his family, though. They had been missing him too. Colin probably already told my dad I was here. I'm gonna go. Bye, Jordan, Nikki said and walked out. I sat in my bed just staring at the wall. He started to walking, but I heard him turn around. Sorry, he said, coming back in my room. He came over to me and leaned down. We kissed and then he stood up to leave again. Okay, bye, he said and left. My mind was a tornado. I had a tough time trying to go to sleep. I laid there in my bed thinking about what happened for so long that it almost didn't seem real anymore. Had I fantasized all of it? No, Nikki was home. I missed him so much and finally things didn't seem so bad. Thank the goddess above. I walked out of my house and was heading to the training grounds when I saw Nikki waiting for me up ahead. I was already anxious to be around him after last night. I wanted to talk to him too, but I felt awkward. I walked up to him, and he turned to continue walking on the sidewalk with me. I looked up at him, and he had his head down, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the ground. He was nervous too. Jordan, I wanted to tell you in person this time. He started speaking, but I cut him off. You're leaving, aren't you? I asked. I have to, he said, still not looking over at me. Why? Why, Nikki? Don't do this again, not again. I started to feel a lump in my throat. I have to go back with my pack today. I'm sorry. No, you just got you back. Please don't leave me. My eyes started watering and I stopped walking. Jordan, I'm sorry. You have no idea how much I have missed you. Please stay, even if it just for a week or a few days. I don't care, just stay a little bit longer. I just got you back. Nikki, your family just got you back. Wild Wind is my family too, Jordan. I can't stay. No, they are not. Your mom and dad and brother and sisters are here. I am here. I need you. This past year without you has been so hard. I can't lose you again. Please don't go. I was sincerely crying. Jordan, Nikki tried to talk, but I heard his voice crack, and he rubbed his face. Nikki, please. You have no idea how much I have missed you. I don't want you to go. I'm sorry I missed you too, but I have to go. Nikki was literally killing me with his words. I was crying. Tears were running down my face, and I was trying hard to form my next words. I needed to compose myself, but it was hard to do when I could clearly see this was upsetting him too. When can you come back? I asked. I don't know if I can, he said while his voice was still cracking. Those words were like a knife in my chest. I started bawling. So, this might be the last time I see him for who knows how long. Why did he even bother putting me through this again? Did he not feel the same way I did? Last night there was something between us. I was pretty sure what it was, and I thought he was aware of it too, but something was keeping him from admitting it. Maybe it was because he knew he couldn't stay. Why did you come back here then? It was so hard losing you once, and now you're doing it to me again. That's fucked up, Nikki. You come home after being gone a year with no explanation, and for what? I wish you would have stayed away then. My words seemed harsh, but I couldn't help it. Jordan, no, it's not like that. I knew I shouldn't have come, but I wanted to see you so bad, and I didn't know how you would react when you saw me. I had a feeling, and I just had to see, he said. He was tiptoeing around what we both knew. I was mad and still crying. I believed him. But the truth of the situation was that Nikki was still leaving. I tried again to compose myself. I wiped the tears from my cheeks and looked up at him. I stared at him. I think his eyes had watered a little too. I took a couple deep breaths and looked back into his eyes. I think I loved him. As if he could read my thoughts, he stepped over close to me and grabbed the back of my head, pulling me into a kiss. There were too many emotions swirling around in my body now. He kissed me and it was amazing. I forgot about everything for those few moments. Then he let me go. I'm sorry, but I have to go now, he said softly. Nikki stepped back, and we both took a couple of breaths. Can you at least call me? I asked. He smiled. What? I asked. I still have your messages. I listen to them sometimes. If you want me to call you, then I will. Jordan, he said. Please. I croaked as I was a blubbering mess. Goodbye, Jordan. Bye, Nikki. I turned and walked to training. I didn't even care what my face looked like. I'm sure it was red and puffy and my eyes were probably bloodshot. I was over this shitty day already. I got in line with the rest of the group and was ready for something to take my mind off of Nikki. All right, sports fans, let's start out with a run. Let's do last man up. Take a minute to stretch and we'll begin. Zeta Davis fired off. What the fuck happened to you, Cross? Roy asked, looking at me. Shut up, Roy, I said. Boyfriend drama, Kai teased. You too, Kai. Ouch, Kai said back. You'd think she'd be in a better mood after banging my cousin last night, Colin said as he was stretching. I shot a glare of death towards him. I was shocked at what he just said. Shocked that he said it, and shocked at the pain it caused me already being reminded of Nikki. Then came the ooze and laughter. Fucking Colin. He was just jealous. He had no idea what was going on and how his words hurt me. This day is just plummeting. We started jogging and getting into a single file line. I hadn't gotten to stretch, but I didn't care. All right, everyone, let's hit and quit it, Zeta Davis said. Yep, hit it and quit it like last night, right, Jordan? Luke said smugly. Fuck them, Jordan, Heidi said as we got in line and started running. I was so angry. Nikki had just left and I was devastated. They could tell I had been crying and they thought it was a good time to tease me now. I began to cry again. I am not sure if it was sadness or frustration. Jordan, up front, let's go, Zeta Davis shouted. I took off towards the front of the line. I had gotten better at running and had built up my stamina over the past year. I was preoccupied today with everything going on in my life. It started to overwhelm me. Jordan, suck it up and move, Zeta Davis ordered. That was the final straw. I was over it. No. Fuck this. I am done, I screamed and turned around. I couldn't focus and Brecken yelling at me did not help. I was going to go home. Or maybe I would find Nikki, if he hadn't left yet. I wasn't sure exactly where I was headed, but I was done with training. Jordan, get back here, I heard him shout. I didn't turn back instead. I kept walking. Jordan's POV. I did not want to go home yet, because I knew I would hear it from my grandfather for leaving my training session. So, I ended up walking past the guest house that the Wild Wind Pack stayed at last night to see if their cars were still parked there. They were gone. I figured as much. Then I heard my phone buzz. It was Heidi. I decided to answer it. It was odd she was calling me in the middle of training. Hey, that one guy is here. Heidi was whispering in the phone. What? I asked. Colin's hot cousin, or something, come back here. She said and hung up. Nikki was at the training grounds. I turned and ran all the way back to the training grounds. I couldn't believe he was there. Did he decide to stay? Why was he there? I don't care. I just had to get back there. As I approached the ropes where my group was gathered, I got nervous. I needed to apologize to Zeta Davis for storming off. Shit, this was going to be embarrassing. I walked up to Zeta Davis first, before going over to Nikki. Well, look who decided to return. Zeta Davis said. Zeta Davis, I apologize for leaving in the middle of training. I said. Lucky for you. Nick here jumped into your spot on the ropes. He said he was going to be here for a few days and asked if he could come work out with us. I looked over at Nikki. My eyes lit up. I wanted to squeal, I was so happy. Something must have changed Nikki's mind. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. I told Zeta Davis. All right, let's wrap up today with 3 miles. Jordan, you have to give me 5. Let's hit it. Zeta Davis clapped his hands and we took off. Great. I know I deserved some type of punishment for my behavior, but this sucked. I would be stuck here running 2 more miles instead of spending time with Nikki. Everyone took off jogging, and I settled in a spot next to my friend. So, you're staying now? I said with a smile, jogging next to Nikki. Yeah, I asked Alpha Eric if I could hang back here a few more days, and he was cool with it. Nikki said. I had to focus on my pace, and not on Nikki right now. I was already getting hot thinking about him. As we were jogging, Zeta Davis came up next to Nikki and started chatting with him. I wasn't a part of their conversation, so I hung back a couple strides. That, and also because I had 2 more miles after this, and I needed to slow down. When it came time for the rest of the group to stop, Nikki kept jogging with me. I was glad he wanted to be around me, but I was a sweaty mess. As I looked over at him, I could tell this workout was a piece of cake for him. I kept looking at him. My God, he was gorgeous. He made my heart beat faster than it already was, and my knees were getting weak. I was getting worked up again, and then he looked down at me with a grin. Jordan, come on. We are almost done. Nikki said. What? I asked him. Focus. He said. How the hell did he know I wasn't focused? Was I that obvious? We finally finished our run and then walked over to our bags and took a break. I noticed it was one of his old computer bags he brought. It reminded me of the times he would come over and we would play games all day. Thinking about all that and then thinking about now was so strange. Nikki was not the same nerdy boy he used to be. I guess I wasn't the same girl I used to be either. But there was one big difference between us. In this last year, he must have had a couple of girlfriends or something, because there was no way he was a virgin. Not with how things went last night. He had gained some experience in that area since I had last saw him. Do you have a girlfriend? I asked Nicky as he got a drink of water. My question caught him off guard. He gulped his water. Shit. I hope he wasn't thinking too much into this. I was honestly just curious. It's not like I would care if he had a girlfriend. Okay, that was a lie. But I wanted to know. Then, I really hoped he didn't think I was already wanting to be his girlfriend. Great. Good job, Jordan. Be really clingy, that will make him stick around. Fuck. Do you think I have a girlfriend? He answered my question with his own. I shrugged at him and kicked at the grass with my shoes. No, I don't. Why? He looked at me. Just wondering. I said, why? He asked again in his low voice that I loved hearing. I was just wondering, that's all. I said, okay. He dragged out the word. Now, it was awkward again. I am a pro at making things awkward. I stood there and was trying to think of something to say to change the subject when he spoke up. My family is making dinner for me tonight, since I am staying for a couple of days. Would you like to come over? He invited. Sure. I said excitedly. Okay, I will see you tonight then. He said as he got up. If you don't have any plans now, you could come over to my house, and we could hang out. I offered. I would, but I need to go catch up with my dad. Okay. He said. I was bummed. I really would have liked to spend time with him. Talking and kissing and who knows what else, but at least I would get to see him tonight. I told him that was okay, and then we went our separate ways. Nicky's POV. I got back to my house and my dad was there alone. Everyone else was out doing things. My mom took my sisters to the store with her to get stuff for dinner tonight. I told my dad I needed to talk to him. It was going to be a difficult conversation, but I had to get it over with. I tried to explain it wasn't going to be the easiest thing to hear before I told him. Okay, Nick, I'm listening, say whatever you need to say. My dad said. Dad, last year before I left, I came home from school one day, and there was this guy arguing with Mom in the driveway. I overheard some of the things he said before they saw I was there. I began. They were arguing about me. The guy knew I was about to turn 18 and he asked Mom if she had told me about him. She said that she had not, and they argued some more. Then, I heard the guy say something about how I should know who my real father is. I paused after I said this and looked over at my dad. Is all my dad said, so I kept going. The guy saw me and said my name. He gave me a piece of paper with his number on it and said to call him if I ever wanted to talk. Mom told him to go away and he left. I tried to ask Mom about the guy, but she freaked out and said he was a crazy person who had her mixed up with someone else. Obviously, I could tell she was trying to hide the truth because the guy knew my name. I said, Dad, did you know about this? I asked because I honestly could not read his face. Nikolai, I want to say first off that I am sorry that is how you found out this information. I want you to listen to me carefully. I did know that I was not your biological father, and let me finish. I met your mother when she was pregnant with you. As you know, we didn't get married until a few years, even after your brother was born. I did not care what she did in her past. She was my mate and I was determined to do anything to make her happy. That included raising you as my own. But I am surprised to learn that she knew who your father was. She told me that she wasn't sure who it could be, but she knew it was a wolf. Well, he knew this whole time. Why didn't you ever tell me this? I was getting upset because I can't believe he knew all of this and never told me. To me, you are my son. It never mattered. I told your mother that we should tell you when you became an adult, though, because you are right. You deserve to know. We were going to tell you after your birthday, but you were gone, and we didn't get the chance, Nikki. I am so sorry. He said, and I could tell he meant it. Oh, is all I could say. Is that why you left, Nick? He asked solemnly. That was a big part. I'm sorry too, Dad. Sorry for leaving. I said. I get it, I guess. You telling me this helps me understand. My dad said. I wasn't sure if you even knew, and I felt like I was lied to my whole life. That and other things. I wanted to know the truth, so I called up that guy and asked him if he was my real dad, and he was. I could tell by the things he was telling me. He told me about his pack and said I was welcome to come stay with him if I wanted, and so I went. I said, so, he is part of the Wild Wind pack then? My dad asked. Yeah. I nodded. Who is he? He asked. You know what? Don't tell me, it doesn't matter anymore. It was a long time ago, and there is no use in being upset about it. Okay. My dad interjected. Okay, Dad. I got his attention. Huh. He looked over at me. You're still my dad, I said, and I put my arm around his shoulder. I was oddly nervous for dinner. I knew it was going to be awkward around my mom. I haven't had the chance to talk to her very much since I came back, and I found myself avoiding her. She knew this whole time who my real father was, and she never said anything. My dad didn't even know. It was weird that she would keep that from him. It was obvious she did not like my biological father. I could tell that when they were arguing in front of me last year. She probably suspected I was with him this whole time, but if she talked about it then, she would have to tell my dad about it. What a pickle she was in due to her own lies. On top of this family drama, Jordan was coming over tonight. Hopefully my dad wouldn't tell my mom about our conversation until later. I did not want to discuss it with my mom in front of Jordan. It was still a sensitive subject. It was getting closer to dinner time, and I went upstairs to shower and get ready. As I was almost done getting dressed, my heart started beating out of my chest. What the fuck was up with me lately? I wondered. Jordan was the cause of it the last time. She must be here, I thought. But I had not heard anyone come in from outside. I went downstairs and opened the front door, and I saw her. She was just getting ready to ring the doorbell. Oh. Hey, Nikki, she said, a little caught off guard. I stared at her as my heart slowed down a beat. It was beating like the fucking drums in Jumanji just a second ago upstairs. When I saw her, the beating chilled out, but not for long, because she looked amazing. I couldn't help but check her out. I could tell she tried to look nice for me. I was getting excited and my heart started to speed up. Truth is, she didn't have to try to impress me, because the makeup and perfume did not matter. I was already attracted to her. My body and mind did not like being away from her. And then, whenever she came back around, it did this. Heart palpitations, and all I wanted to do was be with her. Be around her, talk to her, and I definitely had the urge to do other things with her too. I haven't felt like this with another girl before. At Wild Wind, I was all but fresh meat when I arrived. I was self-conscious and out of my element when I got there. I was too nervous to talk to any girls, but my biological father stuck me in with a group of guys my age. They were all training to be guards for Wild Wind. Those guys got me out of my shell and helped me gain some confidence, and eventually I found myself hanging out with a few girls, just like the rest of them. Nothing serious ever, just flings and having a good time. Most of the girls were looking to have some fun before they found their mate, and I was more than willing to join them. With Jordan, this was different. I cared about her. I always wanted to know what she was thinking, and I didn't want to leave her side now. She wasn't just another girl I wanted to bang. Nikki? Jordan asked. It caught my attention. I was deep in thought, and she was just standing there waiting for me to invite her in. Hey, come in, I told her. I wanted to blow off dinner and go somewhere where we could be alone together. Alone and naked without anyone around. This dinner was going to be torture. We should leave here and find a place where we could talk and kiss. I definitely wanted to kiss her, and I knew she probably wanted to as well. Maybe we could sneak off after dinner. Good evening, Jordan. How are you tonight? My dad asked when we walked into the family room. Hi, Mr. Oat. I am doing good, she said. That's good to hear, he said. Hey, Jordan. Younger sister, Victoria, said as she went over to hug Jordan. Victoria is 14. Her and my youngest sibling, Maisie, are very fond of Jordan. They would always try to get her to play with them when she came over to hang out with me. I had one other sibling, and that was Ashton. He is 15. Since I have been gone, they all probably haven't seen Jordan that much. Dinner is about done. Ashton, come downstairs, my mom hollered. Everyone started to gather around the dining table. Maisie was putting the forks and spoons down at our places. Jordan asked my mom if there was anything she could do to help. I was just hoping this dinner went smoothly and fast. Okay, everyone, grab a seat, my mom said, finally joining us. Alan, will you say grace? My mom asked. Yes. Okay, dear Lord, we come together tonight to thank you for everything you have blessed us with. Thank you for this meal we are about to eat. We thank you for our health and happiness, and, thank you for bringing Nick back home here, so that we may visit with him. In his name, amen. My dad prayed. Amen. Everyone said. Oh, Alan, thank you, that was so sweet. Nikolai, we are so happy you are home, my mom said, getting emotional. I was sitting between my mom on the end and Jordan by my side. My father was at the other head of the table. My mom grabbed my arm and squeezed it. Nikolai, is everything okay? My mom asked. Yeah, it's fine. And I started passing a plate of food. Everyone on the reservation knows you're back, and when I went to the farmer's market today, they were all asking about you. My mom started rattling. I told them you joined the training cadets today, and some of the ladies couldn't believe that my little Nikolai was in the training program. My mom paused after this and looked around when no one else laughed with her. What's the matter? She asked. Mom, I just wanted to get a workout in today. I am not joining the cadets. I told you guys I can't stay. I said to her in the nicest way I could. And I told you that you need to think about it. This is your home, Nikolai. Nick. I cut her off by reminding her I went by Nick now. See, that is my point. That other pack is changing you. You don't need to go back to them. Wild Wind is nothing but trouble. She stopped after saying the pack's name. What? My dad asked aloud. What? My mom asked back at him. You said Wild Wind is nothing but trouble. My dad was calmly looking down the table at her. Yeah, and I mean it. Nikolai does not belong with them, she said heatedly. I didn't know he was at Wild Wind until he told me this afternoon. When did Nick tell you? my dad asked. Dinner had become very tense then. I knew what my dad was getting at. My mom struck a chord and my dad decided he couldn't let it go. Things were getting more serious by the second. I can only imagine how Jordan was feeling. And my poor siblings had no idea what was going on. My dad stared at my mom for an answer, but she was speechless. You knew this whole time, didn't you? My dad said with a growl. I wasn't sure if he meant my mom knew who my real dad was this whole time, or my mom knew where I was at this whole time, but either one fit. My mom got up from the table and stormed upstairs. All three of my siblings looked at me confused. After a couple minutes of sitting there in the painful silence, my dad spoke. I apologize for losing my temper, Jordan. Let's all go ahead and eat. Your mother just needs a minute to calm down. Everything will be okay, kids, he said. I wanted to get out of that house as quick as possible, but Jordan insisted we do the dishes for my mom. Victoria and Ashton cleared the table while Jordan and I washed and dried. Maisie helped dry too. After we all finished, my brother and sisters left, and it was just me and Jordan in the kitchen. Do you want to go on a walk? Jordan asked. Yes, but do you think that is a good idea? I smiled at her. What do you mean? She was flirting. Do you think it's a good idea for us to be alone together? I teased her again. It's just a walk, Nikki, Jordan said with a nudge. I woke up to my alarm beeping. I had to get ready for training. I took a little more time, getting ready just in case. Nikki was there this morning. After I was done, I went downstairs to grab a quick bite to eat. Good morning, sweetie. My grandmother greeted me. Hey, I said and took a seat. Morning, Geordie. My grandfather said. Hey, Gramps, I said and wondered if he told my grandmother about last night. Hey, listen, after training, we'd like to have a chat with you, okay? He said. Okay. I said apprehensively. You're not in trouble or anything, we just want to have a little family meeting, sweetie. My grandmother chimed in. Having a family meeting did not sound good. No doubt my Gramps had told my grandmother about me coming home late last night in nothing but a shirt. And not even my own shirt at that. I was not looking forward to talking with them later, especially since I wouldn't be able to hang out with Nikki if I had to come straight home to the pack house after training. Okay, I will see you guys in a few hours then. Bye, I said as I got up and went out the door. Nikki wasn't at the training session this morning. It was okay though. He didn't say he was going to be there, but I was kind of hoping he was. Running and working out was a nice distraction for me this morning. It kept me from thinking about whatever my grandparents wanted to talk about with me later. As I was walking home, I thought about my family meeting and was preparing myself for what my grandparents might say. I was 19 now, and they really should be more lenient with giving me a curfew. I was an adult after all. That got me thinking about getting my driver's license. It would certainly be nice to not have to walk everywhere on the reservation. Jordan, come on in here and sit with us, my grandfather said. I had just stepped inside the house when he called my name. And he said, Jordan, instead of Geordie, so that immediately got my attention. I walked into the living room and took a seat on the couch. It was just my grandparents and myself in there. Jordan, your grandmother and I talked and we realized that we needed to tell you some things. We have been avoiding the elephant in the room long enough, and it's time we laid everything out on the table. My grandfather began. Okay, I said. It's no secret we have been inviting over eligible men that could be potential companions for you this past year. Your grandmother and I worked hard finding these men that had an alpha bloodline. We did this in hopes one of them might catch your eye, or may even be your mate, and then you would have an alpha to join you in leading this pack. Someone whom you could marry and then bring the next generation into this world with. You were aware of all this, and what we were trying to accomplish. If your grandmother or I ever seemed vague about our plan, that was only because we wanted to keep any pressure off you. He continued. But now, honey, you need to be aware of what's happening. My grandmother said. What? I asked. Some of the pack families are ready to leave. They are getting nervous and are afraid to wait much longer for you to find an alpha to marry. If people start to leave, then our pack will become vulnerable to an attack from another pack. Some packs are not friendly and are constantly looking for a weak pack to overrun and take what they can. They will consume our land and force the families that live here to join the new pack or leave. He said. Yes. My grandmother nodded with him. That is what some of these pack members hope to avoid by leaving now. He finished. So, because of me not finding a man to marry, half of the pack is going to leave us. I was irritated. Well, not exactly. My grandmother started to speak, but my grandfather cut her off. Yes. He said. That's not fair to me, though. I said. If you were a boy instead of a girl, we would still be having the same conversation. He would be expected to find a mate and lead this pack, then of course to quickly start having children to carry on after him. There is no difference, he said sternly. But if I were a boy, I could marry anyone I wanted to. I could find my mate and marry them, and it wouldn't matter if they were an alpha or not. I argued. Maybe one of those men were your mate, but you didn't even give most of them a chance, though. He bucked. Honey, we understand this may seem unfair to you, but it is your destiny to lead Fire Moon. Everything happens for a reason, and while we may not understand why things are going the way they are, we have to remember that. My grandmother said to me. But I couldn't think of anything to say. Give one of these men a chance. Talk with them and get to know them. Maybe you will find that spark, she said. And what if I don't? I asked. Then you choose the one you like and can tolerate the most and marry them. You two have a son or two, and maybe you learn to have love for each other. Or you don't, you will have a friendship at the very least, I would think, said my grandfather. He said it. That was the elephant in the room. I had to marry one of those guys, whether I wanted to or not. I had to marry them soon too, by the way they were talking. I didn't have a choice. Well, I mean I did. I could refuse and that would be the end of Fire Moon. The end of my family's legacy. If we disbanded the pack, we would have to move. We would not be able to care for our land without the whole support of the pack. My family and I would have to join a new pack. Some packs do not take in outsiders very easily. They would be especially leery of taking in a retired alpha too. I had to think of my grandparents and the whole pack and not just myself. I couldn't let my pack separate if I could help it. They are saying it's time to grow up. But we are grown up, Jordan. We know what we want and we can't marry someone else. We can't do that to our mate. We can't do that to Nikki. Breeze said in the back of my mind. Okay, I will do my best, I said, and I heard Breeze growl at my response to them. Oh, Jordan. I am so happy. My grandmother was getting emotional. I am proud of you, my grandfather said. Thank you. Oh, I was thinking about getting my driver's license and a car. Soon maybe I can drive Nikki home to Wild Wind when he is ready to go back. While I am there I could talk with Alpha Eric and stuff, I said. I threw in the part about driving Nikki and talking with Eric, just to make my request seem urgent. I had no plans of driving Nikki home, because I wanted him to stay here. As for talking with Eric, he was at the bottom of my list for potentials. I can take you to the license branch tomorrow, if you like, and I am sure we can find you something to drive. My grandfather obliged. Now, I had to sneak over to my car that I parked on the side of the street. I started walking over to it. I planned to walk around the back of it, but someone was waiting when I got to the driver's side of the car. Hello, Jordan. How are you today? Alpha Eric asked in convicting tone. Shit, I shouted because he scared me. What's the matter? He asked. You scared me. I didn't expect you to be standing here, I said to him. He was leaning against the car when I walked over, but then he got up and took a step closer to me. He was standing right in front of me, staring at me, and didn't say anything. Then he took a deep breath. His eyes went up and down my body and quickly back to staring at me. As he stared into my eyes, his grew dark. I got tired of waiting for you, so I came here with Eva, so she could drop some things off to Nick. He lied. Oh, I apologize. I am going home now, I said. I will ride with you. Just give me a minute to let Eva know, Eric said, and he went inside Nikki's house. Nikki said he didn't ask anyone to bring him stuff, so Eric was lying about Eva dropping things off. Why was Eva really in there talking to Nikki? I wanted to find out, but first, it seemed I was going to have to schmooze Eric for a little bit. Eric was in the house quite a while before he returned outside. He left the house and walked over to my driver's side window. I rolled it down so he could speak to me. I'd prefer to drive if you don't mind, he said, opening my door. Oh, okay, I said, because I didn't really have a choice. Eric seemed a little angry. His eyes were still darker than normal. He was intimidating. I got out and walked around the car. Eric followed and opened the door for me. Then, he got in the driver's seat and started driving. How about we go for a drive? He asked, staring at the road. Oh, I was starting to get nervous. Just down to the lake and back, so we can have a chat amongst ourselves, he said. Okay. Again, I didn't have much of a choice, because he was already driving. Okay. Eric turned to take the road to the lake. For a stranger, he seemed to know his way around the reservation pretty well. That was odd, but I didn't think much more into it. I was more worried about riding in the car with him driving. I remembered back to my conversation with Bash and River about them telling me not to trust him. Jordan, your grandparents told me that you are ready to get serious about your future and your pack's future. Let me make myself clear. Now, I want you to get to know me better, because if you do, then you will see I am not such a bad choice for you. I think you and I could do great things for Fire Moon together. He spoke. Unlike others, I have experience leading a pack, and I can help you take on your role. As a Luna, we can get married right away and put an end to all of the rumors about Fire Moon dying out. It will be vibrant again. Then, in time, we can have some children of our own and establish a new and strong line to carry on the pack. He sounded like a salesman. I'm not asking you to fall in love with me, Jordan. It will be a mutual agreement between us. It will be like a business contract, if that makes it better for you. He looked over at me. First off, I suggest you come back to my home with me for the weekend, You can have your own room and everything, but we can have some time to talk and get to know one another. How does that sound?" he asked. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to turn him down, but not upset him. "I want you to recall the conversation you had with your grandparents and how you felt after talking with them. You need to be mature now," he reminded me. "Eric, I am sorry, but I am not sure I can," I said. "Oh, Jordan, well, I am sorry to say that I will be taking Nick back home with me. Then, I hope you two had a chance to say your goodbyes, because he won't be returning," Eric said coldly. "What?" I was unnerved. "You heard me. If you choose not to come with me, then you won't see Nick again. I am not trying to sound like the bad guy, but I just want you to give me a chance, and he seems to be a distraction. I am doing this for your benefit, Jordan. I think you should take me home," I said. "Not until you agree to give me a chance," he said. "Take me home now," I shouted, not caring about how mad he got at me shouting. "Jordan!" he yelled at me. I unlocked my door and he hit his brakes. When the car slowed, I opened the door and jumped out. I started running. I heard Eric yell after me again, and then I heard the car rev behind me. Shit. I dodged into the woods and shifted into my wolf. I stayed in the woods and ran. Hopefully Eric would lose sight of me. Instead of running to my house, I ran to Nikki's. Maybe Eric would go to the pack house, and that would buy me some time. Breeze ran so fast. When I got close, I looked around for Eric's car, and I didn't see it. I did not have clothes with, so I ran straight to his front door and scraped the front with my paws. Nikki's mom opened the door, and as she did, I ran past her up to Nikki's room and shifted back. Nikki wasn't there. I panicked as I grabbed any shirt I could find, while I heard his mom shouting at me on her way up the stairs. "Jordan, I told you to go home and wait. How dare you barge in here like this?" Mrs. Oates shouted. "I'm sorry, but I need to talk to Nicky. Where is he?" I was out of breath. "He left with Eva," she said. "Ugh. No," I shouted in frustration as I moved past her down the stairs. I went back out the front door and took off running again. I ran barefoot all the way to my house. No doubt Eric was already there. River and Bash were right. Eric was evil. He was already using threats and intimidation. I got home to see Eric waiting outside for me, ready to reconsider my offer. He asked. "No." "Where is Nicky?" I shouted. "He is on his way back home with Eva. Would you like to come too?" "No. I am going to tell my grandfather, and then you are going to return Nicky and get the fuck out of here," I yelled. "Go in there. Tell your grandfather you are spending the weekend at Wild Wind, and I will make sure you still see Nick in one piece." Now that was a threat. "No," I said. "Jordan, go," he barked. "Fine," I said. "I will go in with you," he said, walking behind me. I was angry and scared. I was hoping that once Eric got his way he would stop making threats against Nicky. Once I got to Wild Wind, Nicky, and I could just find a way to leave. No way was I spending the weekend with this jerk. We went inside and I asked my grandparents if it was okay that I went away for the weekend with Eric. They seemed overjoyed that I appeared to be making strides towards my future. I couldn't wait to tell my grandfather what a creep Eric was. I went to my room and started packing a bag. I grabbed some clothes, my charger, and my phone. I was about to try to call Nikki when I heard Eric at my bedroom door. "Are you about ready, Jordan?" he spoke. "Yeah," I said and finished stuffing my bag. We both said goodbye to my grandparents, and then Eric escorted me to his car. I got inside and waited for him to get in so we could go. Eric started the car and began driving. "It will be okay, Jordan," he assured me. "You're a psycho, you better not hurt Nikki." I snapped. "Oh, Jordan," he said. He drove to the main gate of the reservation, and when we got to the guard center, Eva quickly got in the back seat behind me. Eric drove off before I could say a word, and I heard the door locks click. "Thanks," Eva said. "You lied to me," I said to Eric. I was an idiot. I realized that immediately. I only saw one car parked at my grandparents', and that was the same car Eric and Eva drove over to Nikki's. When Eric told me that Eva was on her way to take Nikki home, I believed him. I thought they had someone else from their pack follow them here to help with their little plot. I thought surely Eva had helped convincing Nikki to go back with her. I assumed all of this and believed Eric when he threatened to hurt Nikki by saying I had to come with him if I wanted Nikki again in one piece. I believed Eric, and that is exactly what Bash and River told me not to do. Nikki was never on his way back home. It was all a ruse to get me to go with him. I started to freak out. I needed to get out of this car. I turned to reach for the unlock button, but the child locks were on. I tried to manually unlock it by pulling up on the little tab. Eva bear hugged me around the seat from behind. "Don't even try," Eric said. "Let me go." I screamed. "Quit struggling. Relax," I heard Eva say, and things began to get fuzzy.